So you want to teach group classes with awesome little kidlets, toddlers and preschoolers and their parents in this wonderful little community music school that you've built? Well, you've come to the right place. I'm Miss Deb, baby, toddler, preschool music specialist, and I am here to help you grow your studio. Today we are talking about the group studio policy. It is so important that you have a group studio policy. A group studio policy is different than a private studio policy. Now, what do I mean? What's the difference? Group, one-on-one, or maybe even just like shared lessons or something like that. A group policy is for lessons with a whole group of children. They could be just kids, or they could be like a mommy, daddy, me format kind of thing where you have kids and their parents participating, okay? So that's the difference between the group and the private. Let's get started. The first thing you're gonna wanna have in your studio policy is class cancellations. Sometimes when you market a class for a group, you don't get enough registrations to actually teach the class. So you have a couple of choices. When you register your families to sign up for the class, you could put them on a little list and wait till you have enough people and then take their registration money. Or you could have them pay for the class and have a little clause in your studio policy that says, if there isn't enough registrations in the class, Miss Deb will refund your full payment, or you can choose to go into another class time that is more full, that has more students, something like that, okay? So you need to decide which way you want to go. Do you want to take prepayment, which I think is better because you have commitment on their end. You know when they send you their money, they're committed, they want to do that. Or you could take like a wait list and then call them back. Do the prepaid, okay? That would be my tip to you, okay? So in the policy, just state that if the class doesn't have enough numbers, Miss Deb might cancel your class, but you have the option of receiving a full refund or switching to another class time that works for you. Number 2, missed classes and makeups. Okay, so there's a decision for you. Group classes, makeups, they don't mix very well. They really don't. Unless you are lucky to have a really big music studio like to yourself where you have multiple classes of the same content. I had that. I had 5 classes Monday through Friday that were the same, and they were all in the mornings at the same time. So if somebody was sick on Monday, well then they could join on Thursday's class if I had room. Sorry. Oh, my dog must be chasing a bird on the deck. Okay, so yes, you need to make it clear. If there's another class time that your families could come, you could offer them a makeup at another time that's mutually convenient. But if you don't have another class time, then you need to be more specific that there are no makeups. There are no refunds on missed lessons. It's like soccer. If you're a soccer teacher, you have to rent the whole soccer field. You can't just rent it another time so that, 2 families could come, because you're gonna lose money, right? Parents actually will understand that if you explain it to them in terms that they understand. So you're gonna wanna make sure that's clear in your policy. Sickness. Number 3 is sickness. Okay, kids always runny, snotty noses, okay? Now, if it's just a little runny nose, well, that's one thing, because that happens with teething and allergies. But if it's like a green snotty nose, now come on now. We're not gonna be able to learn if you have A child who has a green snotty nose and who just feels bad and they have a headache and they're sweaty, don't bring your kid to class and infect everybody else. I think this message is pretty clear now with the age of pandemics that we live in, but you need to have this in your policy. If a child is visibly sick, this is not the place for them. They should be at home snuggling with you, right? Take care of your children. And give yourself, the teacher, the right, if a child is visibly sick, that you can send them home. You can refuse them. And I've had to do that before, actually. Yeah, it's very important to be able to do. Actually, I even had some that came for piano lessons one day, and the kid hopped off the bench one day and ran to the bathroom and started throwing up. And the mom comes back, oh, don't worry, he's fine. We just had too much green in our smoothie this morning. It happens all the time. And I'm thinking, okay, well, next time he throws up, he's going to be throwing up on my piano, and this is going to cost like thousands of dollars to clean. So no, you're going home now. And she was refusing. Anyhow, the relationship was never the same, but that was fine with me. Enough detail on this. We don't want to talk about it anymore. But this is why you have to have these policies in place. You need parents to understand your intentions, and they need to understand their expectations. Okay, so here we go. We're going to the next one, medical emergencies. I'm not a nurse. Maybe you're a nurse. I'm not a doctor. No, I am not going to treat somebody if something happens. In the event of a medical emergency situation, Miss Deb will call 911. Okay, I do have first aid training, but I am not going to advertise that in my studio policy. That is for me to have and to evaluate at a moment of emergency if I need to actually use that, or if we need to call 911. Okay, so you need to clarify that in your policy, that there are no medical professionals on standby. 911 is the number to call. And then that way they know also if something happens in class, oh yeah, I gotta call 911, right? So protect yourself. The next topic, sibling and guest policy. Okay, so depending on the size of your room, you may or not have room for multiple parents, maybe grandparents, maybe aunts and uncles, or whoever is visiting the family that week, and all of the little siblings. I've had this happen before a few times, and I was so glad that I had a policy in place that worked for me. See, I always allowed my parents to come as a couple and with their siblings, but it's going to depend on how much room you have. You don't want people stomping all over each other and you know, tripping. This is a learning environment. If there's too many outside people in the class, they're not going to engage quite the same. Okay, next. This is really, really important. I had to address this quite a few times in my studio, even in spite of having a sign on the door that says, no food allowed. Your food policy. You need to have this in your studio. Okay, breastfeeding is okay, obviously. Bottle feeding is okay. But what about bringing a little granola bar? Bringing a container of carrots? What about juice? What about moms and dads who love to bring their coffees? No, I had that sign for a reason, okay? The first day that I had opened, Mama had brought a piping hot Starbucks coffee, and she set it down on my mat, and I didn't notice it right away, but as soon as I noticed it, I quickly ran over and said, please, can you please go put your coffee up in a safe spot? Whatever, I had a shelf, so I just said, just go put it up there. And as I picked it up off of my mat, there was a little O circle from where her coffee had sat, and it forever implanted into my mat. I was not very happy. Day one, opening, first class coffee, Thank goodness it didn't spill on anyone. Can you imagine how horrible that would have been to deal with? But still, it wrecked my mat. The mom didn't apologize even. It was kind of sad, but yeah. So you got to make sure, even if there's a sign on the door, it doesn't mean that somebody's actually going to read it. And of course, I had it in my policy, and again, they didn't read it. So you got to really watch as people come in. What are they bringing with them? What are they doing? You got to greet them so that you can have hands and eyes on the situation. Okay? Another thing with bringing food is if one child brings a snack, then all the kids want a snack. Well, what if somebody's allergic to something? I had one child who was very allergic to sesame seeds. Well, did you know it turns out the sesame seeds are in like everything, even in ice cream? So yeah, make sure you have a studio policy that protects all the children in your classroom. Otherwise, you might end up spending a lot more time cleaning than you had anticipated. Classroom etiquette. This is a good thing to put in your policy. Try and keep it as brief as possible, okay? I would say something about bring, right? The cell phone. Okay, phones should be turned off during class. This is your child's learning time. It's not time for you to talk on the phone. How disruptive is that when somebody's talking on the phone and you're trying to teach a class of like, I don't know, 15 kids? Like, come on now, parents. Make that in your studio policy, okay? Now, it's also a good idea to outline some expectations for kids. Sometimes kids don't technically participate, okay? But they are participating in their mind. They are watching and they are learning and they are listening. So these are important things that a lot of parents don't understand. This might be their first musical experience. And so when parents bring their children to classes, they need to know that it's okay if their child isn't visibly participating in every activity. They have short attention spans, which we as teachers know, but sometimes the parents don't understand that. Why isn't little Molly behaving like Steven, right? Don't compare your kids to other kids. Just be realistic about your expectations. If somebody is crying, oh my goodness, in my baby class, sometimes this always happened whenever we got to the end of the class, we're singing the lullaby. As soon as the lullaby came out, then the baby started crying. Oh, it's bedtime. I'm tired now. No, they didn't all. Some of them just fell asleep peacefully. But yeah, sometimes some parents feel a little uneasy about their baby crying. Reassure them. It's okay if your baby cries. Don't worry. Just try your best to calm them down. And if it's bothersome in the class and you feel out of sorts, feel free to go into the waiting room or feel free to step outside, or every studio is going to be different depending on your layout, but you can offer your parents a little bit of suggestions in this little spot of your studio policy, just so they don't feel so threatened like everybody's watching them, right? That first time parent syndrome where they think, oh, I'm just like the worst mom ever. I have no idea what I'm doing, or dad, right? Don't worry, it's okay. We want to reassure them so that they feel confident going ahead. PU, what is that smell? Stinky feet, ew, gross. A sock policy. Please put a sock policy in your studio. At least tell the parents what they need to do, okay? It's one thing if a little kid is running around in their bare feet, but parents running around with their bare feet, that's kind of gross, right? And of course, with bare feet comes along smelly feet. I mean, smelly feet can come with socks too, but at least if you identify that this is something that's important to you by putting it in your studio policy, hopefully the parents will see that and understand that you don't like smelly feet. Bad weather. What happens if it's a snow day? Oh my goodness. Oh, snow days. Oh, they can wreak so much havoc, can't they? Well, there's probably other types of days in different countries. I'm in Canada, so snow days are what we have here. Who knows? Maybe some of you guys have tornado days or Earthquake days or typhoon days? I don't even know. Um, yeah, you want to have some sort of wording in your policy that states what's going to happen if there's bad or inclement weather, okay? I always canceled lessons on inclement weather, on snow days. If the schools were closed, I was closed. And then you have to say what you're going to do because of that closed lesson, that canceled lesson, right? If you're canceling the lesson as a teacher, you really should be offering a makeup. Or if that's not possible, you can credit the amount of that lesson towards their next registration fees. But you need to specify that in your policy so they know what to expect. Otherwise, you're going to get a million calls on that snow day from every parent who's supposed to come. Oh, what's going on? And you're going to spend the whole day on the phone. Well, you can spend the whole day on the phone anyways, but anyways, make it clear to them, okay, please save yourself some work so they know what's going to happen ahead of time. Click. Oh, everybody likes pictures, right? Well, some people don't. Some people really don't. Some people do not want any pictures of their children taken. So you need to put this in your policy. Maybe you want to have the opportunity to take photos during class. Personally, that is really inconvenient. I'm too busy teaching to grab a phone and say, hey, everybody say cheese and take a picture. Typically, I would take pictures at the end of a class and I would ask, hey, does anybody want to be in a picture? I'm going to take a group photo. If you want to be in the photo, just line up over here. And that's how I would do it. Sometimes I would have a special event and I would say in that special event, in the little file that I send with all of my policies, I would say, hey, there's going to be photos taken or videos taken during this class by such and such, a professional, blah, 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 whatever, right? You want people to know your intentions as a teacher. If you need to have some marketing photos, which you probably do, or some videos for your Facebook or social media pages, yeah, you are going to have to ask permission. Now, if somebody says they don't want to be in the photo, then you're going to have to honor that. That's very important. There's some trust that happens in the studio between parents and teachers. And if the parents don't feel comfortable that they're not going to be captured in the video, then you've lost everything. You have to listen to their wishes and respect their wishes. Okay, so that's why I say, if it's a photo event, say it's a photo event. If it's a video event, say it's a video event. If you want to just take pictures for fun at the end of the class, just ask everybody to join you. And if you don't want to, just say, that's totally fine. If you don't want to join us in the picture, maybe next time, or something like that. Email lists. If you are planning to add the people on your class registration list to your email list, remember, by law, I think it's in every country now, you have to allow them to sign up for your email list. If you sign them up, you are breaking the law. So make sure that you check what your laws are in your country, because I have no idea what they are, okay? Check them out and follow your guidelines for your country and for your city bylaws. Liability. Well, if you are running a group studio, even if you're running a private studio, you're going to want to make sure that you have liability insurance. Liability insurance can come from so many different places. It can come from an organization that you belong to. It could be a private policy, but you need to make sure that you have that liability in case something happens. If someone gets hurt, or if you get hurt, you need to make sure that you have some workers' compensation of some sort. It's really important to have insurance that covers the type of classes that you teach. Some insurance places won't offer insurance for certain jobs, so you need to be very careful about when you're shopping for insurance for liability and such, okay? In your policy, you need to state that parents understand that things can go wrong in the music class. Just like anything when you're walking down the street or driving in a car, that you acknowledge some dancing or some things can happen in, let's see, how did I word it in mine? The enrolling family understands that participating in physical activities during Tiny Tinkle's Music Studios classes, even with proper supervision, may result in serious injury, illness, or even death. Well, that is very unlikely. Thank goodness. The hereby family. You're going to want to have some sort of clause in there, and you can talk to the company that holds your liability insurance as to how to put that into writing. I won't be offering you that information because it's going to depend on who's carrying your policy and the country that you live in too. So you're going to want to make sure that there's a liability waiver in there saying that you as the teacher are not responsible for anything going wrong like that. And finally, policies and terms and agreement. You're going to want to make sure that your parents sign this document saying that they've read and that they understand everything that you put in the policy. And that if you as a teacher feel that they haven't been following the guidelines that have been set out for your classes, that you have the right to terminate their classes, their registration. This is important. I've never had to use that before, but it is very important that they understand these policies. And if you are terminating somebody from your class registration, I would highly suggest, so that you don't have to deal with any dramatic fallouts after this event, is that you just refund them for the remaining classes that are left in the session. Just say goodbye and I'm sorry, but here's the rest of your money back. Sometimes it's just easiest to take the higher road and say, I'm sorry, it just didn't work out. Or, you know, I can't even comment really because I've never had this situation before happen to me, but I know some other people have. I've seen it in the groups posting and stuff, but you want to make sure that you have an out in your contract, because having somebody in your class just stay there to the end when you're unhappy with how things are going, it will affect the whole class and in a negative way. And we don't want that. We want to provide our students with the best possible music experience. And that means following all the rules that you set out. I hope you found today's video really helpful on creating a policy for your group studio. If you have any questions, feel free to type in the comments below. Make sure that you subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you find it valuable. I'm happy to answer any questions that are posted in the comments. Next week, we're going to be talking about ideas for the types of classes that you can teach in your studio. If you want more information on how to build and protect yourself with a really good group studio policy, I have a really valuable link for you, but you need to PM me to get it. What it is a discount for a special training. It's not with me, it's with an affiliate, but I highly recommend this course if you are going to be teaching classes for toddlers, preschoolers, either in a preschool format inside the school setting or in your own private studio. I can set you up with that link. Just send me a private message to my Facebook page, Tiny Tinkle's Music Studio, and I'll send you that link with a discount code. Thanks so much for joining me today. I will see you guys all next week. Happy teaching. Bye.